Now it's time for Girl, Your Soul is Speaking.
And welcome back to On Air with Tony Sweet. I'm Eddie Connor. We're going to jump right into a segment called Girl, Your Soul is Speaking. Oh, God. Okay. And speaking of soul, today we're going to talk about spirit guides and guardian angels. And everybody has spirit guides and guardian angels. And they have master teachers that work with them as well. And I was, whenever I was growing up, I had a very colorful childhood. Okay. When we lived in the projects, and I have 3 little brothers under me, and Mama would work her butt off.
Did you sleep in the same bed?
No, well, we did actually for a while, for a long time, all 3 of us, before Doodlebug was born.
Doodlebug.
I know. So we lived in the projects, and my birth dad, was pretty much a sadist. And I was sort of an adult child, and I wanted to find a way to help my mom, to take care of my mom. And so she would go work her swing shifts, work her jobs, and then my dad wouldn't let her sleep at night. He didn't want to be late for work the next morning, so he would make my mom stay awake all night. And so obviously that's going to wear on you after a while. And fast forward to, he had followed her home from work one time, watching her. She was pregnant with my other brother at the time, Terry. And it was me and Bobby. She picked us up, but my dad had followed her home from work. And so my mom's very beautiful, and especially then. And so a carload of boys were driving by, and they saw my mom, and they're blowing the horn. No, she's pregnant. So they're blowing the horn, and this made my dad mad. Mom didn't know she was being followed. And she gets us into the house, into the little apartment, projects, whatever you want to call it. She's fixing something to eat. Bobby's asleep on the couch. My dad comes storming in and just beats the crap out of my mom.
What?
Beats the crap out of her and smashes bowls everywhere. And I'm just a kid. I mean, I don't think I'm 3 years old at this point.
Because people were following your mom?
No,
because
my
they were
dad was
whistling at
following
her.
my mom. They whistled at my mom because
But that's not her fault.
Exactly. And
Okay.
so with someone like my dad, he just took it out on her.
That's crazy.
And so he comes through the door, and just before he gets to the kitchen, because you know what's going to happen now. You see it all the time. I mean, we saw it all the time. I literally felt somebody pull me under the table and chairs and pull me out of the way. And whenever I looked over, there's a little girl next to me. And he, all the abuse happens and all of that stuff. And then he leaves, takes Mom's tips from working at the bowling alley, and he leaves. Bobby sleeps through it. And then the little girl, when I look next to me at the end of the fight, is gone. And I sort of crawl out from under the table. There's busted glass all over the floor. Mom's curled up in a little ball. And I'm crying. She's trying not to cry. And I'm asking for help because I don't know what to do. And as I'm there, I see, how the sun comes through the water when you're swimming, like in
Right.
the ocean or whatever. That light comes through. It started coming through the wall like that at a diagonal onto my mom and around us. And then I started seeing these angels come through. And that's my first cognitive memory of seeing non-physical beings. And I remember before that, even at 3.5 years old, I remember constantly asking for help from the other side, never understanding or knowing what was going to come from it. And I liked my angels and spirit guides when I was growing up, because if you ask an adult something, they would say, because I said so.
Mm-hmm.
And if you couldn't ask more than once or twice before you were shut down. And so at night, whenever Mama would put me to bed, I would talk to them consistently. And I would ask them all of these questions about the world and how the universe worked, and if Mom was going to be okay or what I needed to do. They would always answer, and they would answer as many times as I would ask the question. They were always patient, they were always loving, and they were always unconditional in every sense of the word. And whenever they spoke to me, it would be a telepathic thing, but it would be a heart and a solar plexus thing simultaneously. So they weren't moving their mouth when they would talk to me, but they would talk to me through that sort of feeling frequency. And everybody's got spirit guides, everybody's got angels. But the best way to get in touch with them is not through your words. It's more telepathic, so it's with your thoughts and your feelings simultaneously. The universe is set up to communicate with humans, not through voice, and not through words, not even through actions, but how you feel. It's a feeling language universe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, if you want to communicate with them, that's your best mode of communication. And I want to ask you guys, did you guys ever have like angelic experiences and or spirit guide experiences when you were growing up, or feel like somebody was watching over you?
Not when I was growing up. Lately,
Mm-hmm. Lately.
yeah,
Interesting.
but not when I was growing up. I used to see things,
Yeah.
but I couldn't explain them. So they
What
were
did you
just
see?
talked about. Me and my brother saw the same. In the middle of the night, red eyes
Yeah.
looking down from the same bedroom, but years later. And the one time in boarding school when woke up in the middle of the night, and we were when you got to a certain age, you were given your own space rather than sharing a room with lots of people in boarding school. And it was the maids' quarters, and it had burnt down, and the
Mhm.
maids had
Died,
died.
didn't
This
it?
was years ago. This was Duffer's House at Gordonston School in Scotland, and there was just a woman when I woke up, and she was just knitting
Yeah.
at the foot of the bed. That was it.
Now, I love stories like
Wow.
that, because even though that's not technically your guardian angel or your spirit guide, because you were in a space where her job was to care, give, and oversee and take care of that family or that community, if you will. As you are in that relaxed place, that's the best way to communicate with them. It's the best way to see them. I always say I write everything down usually, because when you're writing, you're 100% focused on what you want instead of what you don't want. And then writing for longer periods of time causes you to drop out of your head and into your heart and into your solar plexus. So you were in that place where psychics like us, we will get into that relaxed place so that we can receive from the other side. And so you were half awake, half asleep, completely relaxed. It was your own space. And that was her manifesting herself in a way to let you know that you're watched over. Thank you. They're saying that she wasn't there to do anything but you weren't meant to see her, actually, but it brought a certain resolve to you, meaning you saw her because your spirit guides and angels wanted you to know that you were being watched over. Thank you. They're also saying as you get older, you're going to see more again, possibly because you're a composer and you've got a strong connection to music. And what does music make you do? Does it make you think, or does it make you feel first?
Feel.
It makes you feel first.
no,
And that's the language of non-physical.
Yeah.
And it opens your heart more than it closes the heart. And if it makes you think and you speak about it, you usually speak about it from a passionate place or a loving place. To this day, I can't hear the soundtrack from Somewhere in Time. I don't even think about Somewhere in Time. I think about spirit guides and guardian angels watching over me. Really quick, I got off the bus in elementary school one time, and I was in the first grade, and I'm just walking home. It's about a quarter of a mile on a dirt road through the trailer park to get, to my house. And it was after a storm, so all the clouds had parted. It was beautiful. Everything was verdant and lush and green. It was like springtime. And that really good feeling in the air. And I'm walking down the road, and I hear someone tell me and sort of guide me at the same time to cut through a path that was on the left. Now, it had just rained, so all the ditches were really high with water. Everything was wet, and I knew I couldn't come home with my clothes messed up, and everything was muddy. And I was like, I am not cutting through that. The grass was up to my neck is how high it was, and there's copperheads everywhere. And it said, just cut through the left, cut down the trail. And so I finally did it, walked through the trail very precariously, and I walked around the corner of the trail, and then they pointed to something in the water. It was this white, weird alabaster looking thing in the midst of this really fast running water. And they took me to a stick that was on the ground, and then they said, just gently, be as gentle as you can, and lift up underneath it. There was a stick that was going across in the water, and then this thing was trapped underneath it. You couldn't make out what it was, and I'm like, what the heck is this? So whenever I moved the stick, huge bullfrog turned over immediately, and it literally sort of like did this thing where it was taking a gasp. of air, and it just sat there for a minute. I swear to you, it looked at me, and I could hear all these beings say thank you, like they were cheering. And then the frog looked at me and then did this thing with its eyes like a wink and then jumped away. And in that exact moment, I knew that if I hadn't turned it over, it would have just died there. And that's my first interaction with fairies. Every plant has an angel assigned to it. Every body of water has an angel assigned to it. Every tree, every stone, every pebble has little earth fairies or elementals associated with them, just as we have angels associated with us as human beings. Every animal has a spirit guide too, and often deva energy around them. So that was the first time I'd ever been guided by them, the little angels of the earth plane, to save a frog. And years later, I figured out that frogs are catalysts, and birds are too, connected to the fairy kingdom. So as esoteric as all of this sounds and as far-fetched as it sounds, all we have to do is get in a relaxed place like you were and ask really good questions from your feeling place, like what music evokes from us. And then send that out to them, and you will get answers back. You will see things, you will hear, sense, know, and feel presences from non-physical. All you have to do is get yourself lined up and play with the energy like you were doing when you were resting. Now, how about you?
I've not seen, but I've seen results. Of I think guardian angels. I mean, in my 20s, I think all of us go through that period in time, you know, teens and 20s, where we're trying to figure out who we are, what we are. And I went through this huge, it had nothing to do with being gay. It was but a huge spiritual journey. It wasn't even a religious journey, spiritual journey. That's when I'd go to a Buddhist temple. I would go to Muslim. I went to, mosque. I went to everything. Would just ask questions. I never had intended on, like, I'm going to convert to them. I just wanted to know about them. And because something kept telling me, do this. And I remember a couple times where I went to Sandy Patty, her concert. And I remember I went by myself. I was living in Kansas City, and I drove like an hour to the State Fair from where Kansas City was. And I went to this concert. After the concert was over, everybody was leaving, and I went down the steps, clear down to the bottom, and I was just staring at the stage. And I said, oh, God, I just want to do that. I want to be able to touch people's lives like she does. And I just, a singer or something. I just knew that's what I wanted to do, is touch people's lives. And there was nobody around me. And next thing I know, I feel this hand on my shoulder, and I turned because it kind of startled me. And this woman said, God loves you, and you're going to do just fine. It's coming. And that's all she said. And I was just like, thanks. I mean, I didn't know what to say. And then she turned around and walked up and walked away. And I just thought that was the weirdest thing, because nobody was, really paying attention to anybody else. And she happened, and this was like a long stairs just to come down to say that. And then another time was when I was walking, I was just, contemplating. I was just like, well, God, give me a sign. Give me a sign. I just need, and this, seriously, a white dove flies over my head in the middle of Wichita, and it startled me because it came so low, and it was nice and soft, flies away. And it was like, it was just like, oh my God, it woke me up, because I never saw a white dove just flying out in the open. But I've had stuff like that, where things where we do things, the instincts of saying don't do it, the voice that says don't do it, and you do it, and you pay the price because I go against the voice.
Well, and a lot of times when we are not in the place where we can hear it ourselves, meaning through our heart or our solar plexus, then there will be a human, there will be a dove, there will be a frog, there will be whatever, as a catalyst or a messenger to get whatever you need at that time to you. So it bridges your belief system between I'm here by myself, or I can summon the energy that creates worlds, call it God, Buddha, Christ, whatever. But our soul is here to guide us. We often are so numb, we don't allow it to do its job. And anytime you can ask and summon it, you're going to stay on the right path. You're going to get signs, if you will.
Can I ask you something?
But you got to ask.
Can I ask you something real quick? have you ever? I mean, all three of you, or all three of us, have we ever? I know, like another third. Have you ever been told by your spirit guide or somebody else's spirit guide to intervene? You know how like that woman came down to me. Have you ever walked up to somebody for some reason? You're like, I don't even know why I'm saying this to this person, but I'm helping this person, or I'm encouraging this person, and you
do
don't
that
even.
all the time.
But do you? It's.
Yeah, no, not even as a reader.
Okay.
It's not to intervene, but to take what's existing and where they already are and elevate them in that way, which is what she did, in my opinion.
But that's what I mean. Was it something just her conscious going, oh, okay, or was a spirit guide helping?
Guiding her
yes.
to connect to you? Yes. That's exactly what I feel. And she was instinctual and intuitive enough to do it without that weird stuff that we sit back and go, okay, this thing's crazy.
Yeah, because she wasn't a crazy.
No.
Like, she didn't come across, there's those crazy, like,
There's,
Jesus Christ will heal. You're like, oh, get away from me.
Yeah, but what you had was this, not that
it was very gentle.
Stuff.
But that could be just helping. I mean, I'm always doing stuff or going to complete strangers and saying things and doing things and helping and
I know, but have you
correcting and
because sometimes there's those times where our human self will go, oh, that's crazy, I don't want to go up, but then there's that voice that keeps saying go,
like when in the gym and someone's
go.
doing something and you think, oh my God, I don't know this person, but they're about to injure themselves, and part of you's going, leave them alone. They're probably going to think, what the fuck, it's none of your damn business, leave me alone. And then another part of you goes, no, look, just go say something. And so then you go and say something, go, look, it's better if you do it this way because you can end up doing blah, 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 blah. But that's just...
And you know when to do it, and you usually know when not to do it.
Yeah.
So that's beyond logic. That's just something a little bit more instinctual. Like you driving that far by yourself, you're like, "What the hell am I doing?"
I was like, why am I
but
doing this?
You needed to be in a place where you could see how one person could affect hundreds and hundreds of other people through what she was born to do. You needed to see somebody do it before you got it anchored in, and you almost didn't get it anchored in. So somebody came in and anchored it in,
and it validated for me what I wanted to do.
And that's what we're here for, to be validated on the non-physical, physical part, married together as one.